This video is sponsored by Nebula. More on that as well as some other news at the end of the video.
Just remember, too, the Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that, because if we start with that, we have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
I'm sorry, but where the Iranian regime is today in 2025 is nothing compared to the United States.
Hanging black people. So
it is not even the same. I couldn't step during this.
Wait. That's not what you mean to say. It is the same.
No, it's not. The year 2025 in the United States is nothing like if I step foot wearing this outfit into Iran.
And that's why I am saying that it is the same. Murdering someone for their difference is not good, whoever does it. It's not good.
So this is an extract from the show The View, one of the longest running talk show in US television history. The hosts were discussing escalating tensions after Israel attacked Iran, when the conversation shifted to human rights abuses in Iran, particularly targeting LGBTQ+ individuals and women who defy strict dress codes. There seemed to be consensus around the table until Whoopi Goldberg intervened to bring nuance and remind the audience that the US also has a history of disregarding human rights. From that moment, the atmosphere on the show shifted. Whoopi Goldberg and Alyssa Farah Griffin started arguing, which led to this extract being clipped out and shared online for internet users to react to and for me to use it as the intro of the video you're watching right now. My name is Alice, welcome back to my channel. So yeah, most people reacting to this debate focused on Alyssa and Whoopi. Just to give you some context, Alyssa is 1/4 Syrian Lebanese and says that she's culturally treated as brown. And Whoopi is obviously a black woman. So most people focused on Alyssa and Whoopi, but I want to draw your attention to another person in the room. The person I'm interested in is Zahra Haynes. I want you to pay attention to the role she plays in the debate. It's an important role. So during the debate, Zahra says things like this.
They are not doing well in Iran. They are not educated. They cannot.
And later, this.
They can't go out of their house.
This is factually wrong. Iranian women are educated. They make up the majority of college graduates and represent 70% of STEM students. It's also wrong to say that they can't get out of the house. Now, that is not to say that there aren't any obstacles for Iranian women. There are many, the morality police being one of them. And Iranian women are fighting against those obstacles, like they always have. But Zahra Haynes doesn't seem to know much about Iran. She comes across as the average person who has probably seen one of those documentaries on Afghan women and the Taliban and now thinks that every single Middle Eastern woman is trapped at home and given out to soldiers. These assumptions circulating in the media aren't just ignorant, they are also dangerous because they help manufacture consent for things like disregarding international law and bombing Iran, including Iranian women like Palnia Abbasi, a 23-year-old poet, as reported by the Washington Post. But we'll get back to that later. Zahra says some crazy things in the background, covering Whoopi's arguments, but she doesn't look at Whoopi in the eyes. Instead, look at what she's doing. She looks at Alyssa every single time. And I think she does that because she knows that Alyssa, who said she's culturally treated as brown, is a better spokesperson for this than she is, a white, normie woman. And she trusts Alyssa, a strong supporter of the US military and Israel, to promote common-sense American exceptionalism. Alyssa, on the other hand, doesn't contradict any of the incorrect information Zahra Haynes shares to the more than 2 million viewers of the show. She builds on it. To the viewer, Zahra's arguments become one with hers. The attention is on Alyssa, who sounds more articulate and actually looks like she knows what she's talking about. From then on, Whoopi loses the upper end. She doesn't seem to know much about Iran either. She concludes by saying,
"We're going to come back and talk more about this."
This sort of sequence happens on TV all the time, especially since October 2023, and even more so since Israel attacked Iran a month ago. This clip in particular went viral because there was some pushback, but generally speaking, this level of ignorance about the Middle East leading to problematic assumptions is the norm on Western TV. I mean, not a single person around the table reacted to Zahra Haynes' claims that Iranian women aren't educated or can't get out of the house. Most viewers live this conversation comforted by the idea that their country, which, by the way, is increasingly attacking women's rights, threatening women's lives, and pushing more women into poverty, that this country is great, actually. But if you're an informed viewer, you see how this comes across as propaganda sugar-coated with bigotry. It's the duty of the press to inform viewers about world politics, but I think we all agree the dominant news networks aren't doing a great job at this. There has been a lot of commentary and analysis on media bias regarding the Middle East and the genocide in Palestine. Today I want to draw your attention to a specific, often overlooked element of that biased media coverage, the Arab or Muslim woman. As we can see in the clip from The View, the Arab or Muslim woman gets empathy from Western media. Everyone seems to want to speak for her and defend her. I would even argue that she gets more empathy than children who are presented as terrorists to be.
אלה צריכים להיות מחוסלים. ביום שאחרי השבת כל החטופים הביתה, צריכים להמשיך את המלחמה, והיא תימשך. אז השתולה במחבלים. כל ילד שנולד עכשיו בדקה הזאת הוא מחבל מראש, איך שהוא נולד.
So today I want to talk about why Arab women have this specific status in Western media and what's really hiding behind that bigoted empathy. I also encourage you to learn more about these women by actually listening to them, not just me. So I'll put a list of creators, journalists, and thinkers you can check out after this video. But first, Part 1. Eternal Victims. During the prestigious Cannes Film Festival of 2025, one of France's most popular influencers called Lina showed up dressed like this. Not even 2 days later, the leader of Macron's parliamentary group tweeted this, quote, Lina in 2024 versus 2025. Entrism begins first through dress codes, which is why imposing it on little girls is the foundation for infiltrating our societies. Our mothers fought so that our skirts could be shorts, end of the quote. So basically, Lina was accused of helping a conservative organization called the Muslim Brotherhood. For context, the Muslim Brotherhood is a transnational Sunni Islamist organization founded in Egypt in 1928 that advocates for implementing Islamic principles in political and social life. In France, it operates more through a network of community associations and religious institutions, promoting conservative religious values while officially distancing itself from violence. Now, French authorities and intelligence services have expressed concerns over the Brotherhood's alleged strategy of what they call entrism, a term mentioned in the tweet. Entrism can be defined as the practice of influencing civil society and education systems under the guise of integration. Such concerns led to an investigation and the production of a report which said, among other things, that the organization could be a potential threat, but was also losing its influence in the country. Knowing that, the tweet Abisroor de Liem wrote can therefore be described as conspiratorial because the influence of the Muslim Brotherhood in France is relatively small and declining. Only 1.2% of French Muslims are connected to it. The suspicion doesn't match reality, yet it's there. It's been cultivated in the media to the point where a young woman like Lina, who's not religious and is an advocate of female empowerment, gets accused of entrism simply for wearing a dress from the Olsen sisters brand, The Raw. In response to the backlash, the representative explained that she was referring to modest fashion, which she views as a form of entrism. I mean, the Olsen sisters' style may be inspired by modest fashion, but people wear clothes regardless of their history or cultural meaning all the time. That's why we invented the term cultural appropriation. So yes to raising awareness about the history and meaning of clothing, but no to the assumption that every person wearing a specific piece of clothing do so for ideological reasons. The combination of awareness and open-mindedness is key here. So Lina answered the accusatory tweet by saying this, quote, during the Cannes Festival, I learned that according to some, I was pregnant and that I had joined the Muslim Brotherhood. She added, quote, thinking of all women because if there's one thing I keep learning, it's that we will never please everyone. A thought for our mothers who marched so that we could choose our clothes. Thank you. And an even greater thought for Muslim women who face this kind of judgment every day, but without the support of the internet to defend them. You see, the implication of the initial tweet isn't that Lina is a Muslim Brotherhood undercover agent. No. I mean, we know that Lina is not usually modest in the way she dresses, and that's perfectly fine. The implication of the tweet is rather that her influence is being used without her even realizing it. And that's the crux of the issue. Arab women aren't seen as agents making their own choices. They're seen as vehicles for ideology or victims to be saved. In Western media, Arab women have a special status. They are the recipients of a form of bigoted empathy that separates them from Arab men. Arab women are often portrayed as passive, oppressed, in need of saving. This contrasts with the depiction of Arab men as inherently patriarchal, authoritarian, or violent. This gendered and racialized dichotomy serves political agendas. Bigoted empathy towards Arab women turns into anti-immigration policies, while the fear of Arab men is used to reinforce surveillance and policing. This, by the way, is not a new phenomenon. In the late 1950s, while French colonial troops were fighting against the Algerian resistance army in occupied Algeria, a section of the French military, called the Fifth Bureau, launched one of the most controversial propaganda campaigns of the era. A push to get Algerian women to remove their veils. Their objective wasn't about women's rights, it was about weakening Algerian nationalism. They saw the veil, especially the traditional haik, as a powerful symbol of that identity. To the French, the veil represented oppression, but to many Algerian women, it had become much more than a religious or cultural garment. It was a marker of dignity, resistance, and self-determination in the face of colonial rule. So French authorities began staging public unveiling ceremonies. Women were encouraged, or sometimes pressured, to remove their veils in front of crowds and cameras. These images were used to promote the idea that France was liberating women, bringing them into the modern world. What the French colonial forces didn't anticipate, though, was the backlash. Instead of giving up their veil, many Algerian women began to wear it more intentionally as a political statement. In that specific context, the veil became a silent form of protest, a way of saying, I am Algerian and I resist. But as French kids learning about our country's history at school, we don't hear that side of the story. We don't hear it, and we don't even question it, because we grow up viewing Arab women's submission as common sense. Arab women's lack of representation in media becomes further proof of their subordination. And that's how you end up with something like the clip from The View we saw earlier, where crazy stuff is being said and no one reacts. And it's not like Iran is some sort of faraway, closed-off country. The Iranian diaspora is significant. More than 4 million Iranians and descendants live outside the country. 47% are in the US and 29% are in Europe. So they are here and they can tell their stories with complexity and nuance. Instead, we only get to hear the same simplified story voiced by people who have little or no ties to the Middle East, for a Western audience willing to feel empathy for the oppressed. An empathy that leads to gratitude for our comfortable lives in the West. But don't be misled, this fake empathy is just another form of bigotry. Presenting a group of people as weak and powerless is the first step in asserting control over them. Women know this all too well.
I want to protect the women of our country.
Palestinians know this all too well.
I want the people of Gaza to be safe, more important.
So that's what
I want to see safety for the people of Gaza. They've gone through hell.
Now, if we had these women in the room instead of having them crying on our screens in response to the destruction caused by our weapons, what stories would they tell? In fact, contrary to what we're led to believe, women in the Middle East have not simply witnessed revolutions, wars, and protests, they've led them. Take the Arab uprisings of 2011. In Tunisia, women, lawyers, doctors, and unemployed graduates were among the first to rise up against President Ben Ali's authoritarian regime. In Yemen, activist Tawakkol Karman became a central figure in the revolution. And when the government tried to shame women off the streets, thousands responded, not by backing down, but by coming out in even greater numbers. Because they were never just supporting characters in the male revolution, they were co-authors of the uprising. In Iran, during the Green Movement of 2009, the image of Neda Agha Sultan, murdered by state forces, became a symbol of national grief and defiance. 13 years later, Mahsa Amini's murder sparked the Women Life Freedom Movement, which saw massive protests across the country. In Syria and Iraq, Kurdish women not only fought on the front lines against ISIS, they also built a radically democratic, feminist political experiment in Rojava, one where women took significant roles in politics, law, and education. I'll expand on this one a little bit because Rojava is a great example of what can happen when self-determination is prioritized. So when the Syrian state collapsed in 2011, Kurdish communities in northern Syria organized around local communes, councils, and cantons, all rooted in the ideology of democratic confederalism. These structures are quite unusual, so here's a little visual explanation of what they did. I'll also put a reference to the book. I read on it in the description. This figure is taken from it. You can pause and have a look. Let me quickly find it so I can have a look with you. So as you can see, you have the base, the commune that involves as many people as possible. It then goes to the second level with the neighborhood, villages, community people's councils. And then third level, district people's councils. And then fourth level, people's councils of West Kurdistan. At each of the 4 levels, commissions exist in 8 areas: women, defense, economics, politics, civil society, free society, justice, ideology, and health, which means that from this level, the base level, to the 4th level, those topics are covered. Pretty much everyone has a say. This is what democracy should mean. The fight for women's rights is a pillar of the Rojava project. To put it simply, they have women-led institutions, legal, educational, economic, and social autonomy. They have this feminist ideological framework called genealogy. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. That rejects state and patriarchal hegemony. They have a militarized resistance by women alongside mixed units to defend autonomy and protect women in surrounding communities. And they have legal and social reforms dismantling patriarchal laws and norms. They also do a lot of educational work with women who aren't on board yet to educate them on their rights, etc. While the movement cooperated with Western powers to get some military support against ISIS, it refused to cede control over its ideology or future. And finally, I have to mention the incredible job of Palestinian journalists and activists like Bisan, Hwaida, and Plastia Al-Akkad, who have been giving a voice to their people living under genocidal apartheid. Their coverage has shed light on the famine, the destruction, offering a counter-narrative to the Israeli government's lies. Now, all the women and movements we've talked about in this section don't fit into Western boxes of liberated versus oppressed. These women are religious and secular, urban and rural, militant and peaceful, traditional and radical. They challenge patriarchy, but they also challenge colonialism, classism, and imperialism. They sometimes work with NGOs, they sometimes refuse foreign interference, some reinterpret religious texts, others fight in guerrilla armies, some organize online, others resist quietly at home. What they have in common is this: they refuse invisibility, they reclaim power, and they reshape their societies on their own terms. So the next time someone says Muslim or Arab women are only victims, remember, they have marched, fought, spoken out, and led revolutions. And now in the West, women of Middle Eastern or Arab descent have also campaigned for their rights. Linda Sarsour, a Palestinian-American Muslim activist, served as a national co-chair of the 2017 Women's March in the US. She built on her earlier work organizing Muslims for Ferguson and opposing Trump-era travel bans, targeting Muslim-majority countries. In France, the group Les Jabeuses, constituted primarily of young Muslim women, protested against a ban on wearing the hijab in competitive football. They organized demonstrations at the French Football Federation headquarters and lobbied parliament, challenging policies that prevent them from being able to enjoy the sports that they like. And finally, during the massive Yellow Vest movement in France, Arab and Muslim women who tend to be relegated to low-paying care jobs were in the streets with hundreds of thousands of people to protest the government's austerity measures. This leads me to my next point. You remember earlier when we talked about how disregarding Muslim or Arab women's agency is a way to control them and their communities? Now that desire for control can be explained by racism. And by racism here, I mean the desire to maintain dominance of one racial group over another that's deemed inferior. But if you know a little bit about the history of colonialism and colonial trade, or what came after, like segregation in the US or apartheid in South Africa, then you'll see it's not just about racism. It's also about resources, human and material resources. Capitalism and colonialism go hand in hand. You can't fully understand capitalism without understanding colonialism, as Lebanese thinker Mahdi Amel explains. Capitalism depends on groups from which it can extract labor at the cheapest possible price to generate ever-growing profits and keep shareholders happy. Historically, these groups were slaves or colonial subjects. After slavery was abolished and former colonies gained independence, Western powers struck deals with these new governments to keep extracting resources abroad under the guise of economic cooperation. At home, employers used black and brown migrant workers as tools for union busting, a strategy to break strikes by dividing the working class along racial lines. In the book In the Name of Women's Rights, scholar Sarah Faris offers another example connecting class and race, so capitalism and colonialism. And yes, you guessed it, it's the so-called oppressed Muslim or Arab women. For her, the discourse around saving Muslim and Arab women from patriarchy entails policies that actually reinforce economic and racial inequalities. Faris studied policies and programs in countries like France, Italy, and the Netherlands in order to come to these conclusions. In the Netherlands, for example, citizenship and integration programs require women to prove that they're integrating by taking low-wage jobs to keep their legal status. This frames working for a country as essential to integration, which is a very capitalist mindset. There are many ways to participate in a community beyond a 9-to-5 job. Volunteering, joining clubs, caring for communal spaces like gardens and parks, or taking care of children and the elderly. For example, parents help teachers on school trips. Without them, the school trips would not happen. Yet in France, the Minister of the Interior has threatened to ban mothers wearing headscarves from participating in such activities. While this particular issue is legally questionable, the hijab is effectively banned in many public sector jobs. These examples illustrate what Faris calls femonationalism, when feminist ideas are corrupted by nationalist or neoliberal agendas. Feminism isn't used here to protect Arab women, but to discipline them, pushing them into economic roles that benefit Western economies while keeping them subordinate. In other words, 1, you create a narrative presenting Arab and Muslim women as inherent victims needing liberation. 2, you offer a way out through low-paid work, framed as the only path to freedom and integration. 3, you let your economy flourish on the backs of black and brown working-class women, all while pretending it's an altruistic act done for them. So instead of asking what Arab women want or what liberation really means to them, countries like France, the Netherlands, and the US impose a narrow idea of freedom, one that involves working cheaply for someone else. Whether at home or abroad, the discourse portraying Arab or Muslim women as perpetual victims ultimately hurts them. It traps them into a state of victimhood, allowing anyone, even those who don't have their best interest at heart, to speak in their name and misrepresent their needs and aspirations. It also justifies attacks on their countries, their homes, libraries, universities, organizations, hospitals, and means of communication. So all the things that help them grow into independent individuals. And it doesn't just hurt them, it kills them. UN Women estimates that over 28,000 Palestinian women and girls have been killed since October 2023. That's roughly 1 life lost every hour. So I'll end by borrowing a line from Feminism from the 99%. I'm a feminist, and to all the bureaucrats, politicians, and media commentators who use feminist rhetoric to justify violence and discrimination against our sisters, I say 4 simple words, not in our name. For my regular viewers, you might have noticed I took a little break, and I've got a couple of updates for you. The most important is that I'm now a Nebula creator, and this video is actually sponsored by them. I'm really happy to have joined this community, and I'm really excited to make my own exclusive content for the platform. You can already find my videos ad-free, sponsor-free right now on Nebula. Nebula is the premium streaming platform made by creators for creators. On it you'll find familiar names like PhilosophyTube, FD Signifier, Mooncat, Not Just Bikes, and many other of your favorite creators. It's packed with original ad-free content that you won't find anywhere else. Creators like me can experiment and really explore their ideas without having to worry about algorithms, clicks, and demonetization. That means you get access to unfiltered, thoughtful videos, documentaries like Tom Nicholas' Boomers, in which he went to talk to my fellow French citizens about our national sports, protesting. Or shows and series like Broy Deschanel's Taboo on Screen, which dives into how movies handle controversial or off-limits topics. And all of this is on top of our usual videos, like the one you're watching right now. The subscription is super affordable, and with my personal link, you can get 40% off an annual subscription. That brings it down to $36 a year or $3 a month. And unlike other streaming platforms, there's no extra fee for ad-free viewing. You can take advantage of this offer and join me on Nebula at go.nebula.tv/Alice Capel. So go check out Boomers, Abolish Everything, and a bunch of other fun and unique content right now. Again, the link is go.nebula.tv/Alice Capel, or you can scan the QR code that is on the screen right now. Thank you so much, Nebula, for sponsoring the video, and I have a second update. The second update is that I've been writing 1 essay and 1 report while I was on my YouTube break. The essay will come out in the winter edition of the magazine The Stinging Fly. If you're a Sally Rooney fan, then I'll brag by saying that Rooney is a member of the Stinging Fly board. I'm just saying. The essay is about the coal mines region in the north of France, which is where I come from. It deals with its socialist and communist history and recent shift to the far right. And the report I wrote is on the Zoran Mandani's campaign in New York. It's for a French magazine called Socialitaire, and it's going to be available in France very soon. And I'll use this opportunity to say that I was reporting on the ground during the last months of the campaign. So I've interviewed a lot of field leads, volunteers, some experts, etc. I'm not going to do a video about it, but if that is of interest to any media, podcast, anything, I'd be happy to share my research and observations. I think there are many great lessons to learn from this historic campaign. So yeah. Finally, before I leave, I would like to thank my patrons, and a special thank to top-tier patrons Ron Wing, Fred, Hongqing Huang, Paul-Louis Agenot, Wolf Gratz, Patrick Button, Jeff Lee, Yilan, Tayab Matin, Nick, Brandon, Jem Siddle, Ojual, Pablo, Patrick, Boris, Ria, Corrigi, Tristan, Christopher, Ian, Donage, Alex, Manuel, Christopher France, and Perry. And thank you to the other ones who prefer to stay anonymous. I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, the conversation continues in the comment section. Don't forget to like, to subscribe if it's not already done. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Salut!